One of the creators of Scrum, Dr. Jeff Sutherland, published a paper in 2014 where he and his colleagues presented these 9 hyperproductive patterns that Scrum teams should follow in order to reach even higher productivity. They explain that hyperproductivity could be a figure that the team reaches 5 times their productivity level compared with their initial productivity level. So for instance, if you're using story points in counting the velocity of a Scrum team, if your initial velocity is 10, then being in hyperproductive state with that team, you would expect to see 50 points delivered per sprint. By using these 9 hyperproductive patterns that Dr. Sutherland and his colleagues presented in this paper in 2014, it is possible also that your team can reach the 5 times or even 10 times the productivity that they had when they just started using Scrum. So I think it's worthwhile to take a look what really are these patterns and how you could apply them to your Scrum team. So the number one of these productivity patterns is called stable teams. It says that when the team is being formed, the longer it stays together, the more productive the team will become over time. So having these stable teams is kind of a prerequisite of applying these hyperproductive patterns in the first place, but it isn't necessarily the thing that the team couldn't live without of someone leaving or entering the team. However, the team size is kind of thought to be most effective when there are entirely 7 people in a team, including the Scrum Master and the product owner. So you would have 5 developers in an optimal situation. Usually teams go through these phases of forming, storming, norming, and beforming. Once the team stays stable, they will certainly go through these phases, but as they are working together longer, they know each other's weaknesses and strengths, and they can use them efficiently in the team. Of course, there should be a lot of learning happening in the team all the time. Once the team stays in a stable mode for a long time, they build an ownership of the outputs and outcomes they are creating and have the total sense of ownership of their deliveries. The pattern number 2 is called yesterday's weather. So this basically means that the teams know their velocity, their capabilities, their strength and weakness, and they are able to estimate their backlog of work. When the team is asked about a new project, a new functionality or new service, how long should it take, they usually know the velocity and somehow can reliably tell the stakeholders that okay, we have these capabilities, we have these skills in the team, we think that this will take this much time. And once the team is stable and is able to make estimations reliable, they will be very trustworthy for the whole community. If the team is new, then it's quite hard to apply the same method for them. Just let the team start working, record some historical data, how much their velocity in these past sprints is, and then you can apply that number and apply the yesterday's weather pattern them as well. Okay, pattern number 3 is called swarming, which essentially means one by one production. This essentially means that a team is very clear that they will work on the most important backlog items during their sprints. Let's examine the swarming pattern a bit further. When a team is working on its stories for the sprint, At first, it seems that it would be natural to start working with as many stories as possible. But there's a big risk that all stories are not finished in one sprint, but some stories will be continued in the next sprint. By using the swarming pattern, the team focuses on finishing the most valuable story at the time. They will focus finishing work before starting new work. They will maximize the skills and learning opportunities in the team, which help them to focus on delivering the most value for customers and get more done. So in this way, team is very keen to learn what it really takes to finish the job as a team and not work as an individual contributor in the team, but not really taking the ownership of the most important work at hand. So what is really close of this swarming pattern is mob programming. In mob programming, team is trying to really focus on the single job to get it done using the collective brain power that the team has. The biggest benefit of using this swarming or mob programming patterns that you would get instant feedbacks. Your code review will be done in seconds because everybody knows what the code is doing. Tests are being written instantly and you get the test results as soon as possible. So there's no waiting, there's no hassling who will do what, who will do my code review and so on. So very effective pattern. It's recommended to try. And you will certainly learn while doing this swarming. You learn about each other's skills and you are in the later phase able to share the work more efficiently within the team. Pattern number 4 is a way to handle interrupts for the team. So an interrupt for the team can be an urgent customer case, or you find out some serious issues in your product and you have to fix them right away so that your customers won't be affected by that error. So let's assume that a team knows its capacity for the next sprint. Most of the team's capacity will be used to reach the sprint goal, which is getting the value adding backlog items on the sprint backlog to done. However, a high-performing team also reserves capacity for handling interrupts, which can be, for example, tackling a high-priority customer case. Once a new interrupt is placed to the team, it can be handled if there's still a buffer left to handle the interrupt. If the team has already used all capacity in the interrupt handling buffer, the product owner may eventually decide if the team should work with the new interrupt now or in the following sprint. However, if the interrupt is prioritized, it may jeopardize the sprint goal. Nevertheless, the team should collect some information how often they face a situation when a customer case or a serious bug drops out of the blue to the team and they would have to react to that. The pattern number 5 is called a daily clean code. So this pattern is pretty interesting because it will tell us that at the end of every day you should push clean code to version control, which is tested and has no defects. And you would have small patches of work that you are able to finish in a day and push the code and with the needed tests to version control. Also, this pattern suggests that after the working day is over, everything is up to date and clean. So this means that your sprint backlogs are up to date. It has the relevant and updated information when your next day starts, and the team space would be clean of the mess. all the assets that the team uses are in place and tidy and waiting for the next day to arrive for the team. So in order to get this pattern to work, the team must be very highly capable in teamwork. They must be able to handle the patches of code. They must be able to apply swarming in a very efficient way. Okay, the next pattern is called emergency procedure. So if the team finds out that in the middle of the sprint it looks like the sprint goal isn't really achievable, they should then apply this emergency procedure to find ways to be able to complete and reach the sprint goal in some way. They may try to get help from other teams, or they may try something different in the team to make this sprint goal happen. Also, the team can try to reduce the scope of the backlog items that are still in progress. So if the team isn't able to find any ways how they can save the sprint goal, they may have to abort the sprint and replan the next sprint all over again. The seventh hyperproductive pattern for Scrum teams is called Scrum Interscrum. So this basically means that while the team is doing retrospectives, they try to always find ways how they can improve their implementation of Scrum. So in order to find these things, and when they are being found, they should be treated as a high priority backlog item in their sprint, so that they can implement that, test that new method, that it really works for them and produces the desired results. This pattern will help the team to identify any impediments they may face and finally get rid of these impediments and make them even more efficient team. If the team isn't motivated and happy in what they do each day, they won't certainly get the results that they really desire. So in order to track how happy the team really is, you can keep a pattern which is called happiness metric. So every day all team members mark on the whiteboard or in some other tool in the sprint backlog, for instance, a mood from, for instance, 1 to 5, how they are feeling that day. So if team's happiness metrics start to go down, there may be some underlying issues that the team must face eventually. So having that happiness metric and reacting to the changes, especially when it goes down, is quite important. The team may have a retrospective of discussing what is causing our happiness to go down and find out the ways how we are going to fix it. So we should really think team happiness as being a key motivation factor for Scrum teams, and really take a note when we see that the happiness metrics is going lower. Okay, the ninth and the final pattern for hyperproductive Scrum teams, it's called finish early to accelerate faster. If the team is able to finish all the work they have designed for the sprint early, before the sprint really truly ends, then they are able to pull more work in or make some other improvements for the team in order to be more productive in the next coming sprints. This is really the way how teams could really accelerate their productivity. They have the right amount of planning. They know how to face interrupts coming to the team. So what is my take on these 9 hyperproductive Scrum team patterns? To me, they are pretty advanced overall. Of course, there are more easier ones like applying the happiness metrics, which is a nice thing to do even though you are not utilizing other. If your Scrum isn't working at the level it could work at its best, I don't think you should apply these advanced patterns before you get your basic Scrum working the way you want it. Using all these patterns really require agile mindset from all of the team members, Scrum Master and product owner to really make them work. Maybe if you want to try out a few of them could be a good approach to my mind. So you can see clearly what is the impact of utilizing just one pattern at a time, and then once you are comfortable of practicing that pattern, then try another one after that. That way you could get the cumulative benefits over time and really can help you become a hyper-productive team, maybe being 10 times even more productive. Okay, what do you think? Could you apply or use one or two of these patterns in your teams? Or could you even apply all these patterns for some of your teams at least? Leave a comment below, and if you like this video, please hit the like button. I hope I see you in the next video.